just screwed right now. I don't know.
Posse, 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 posse. Don't call me no more and don't text me no more. I ain't discussing nothing. You can go and hit the door. Get up out on my ride. Forget you, let the Chevy door hit you with a good low split. You don't call me no more and don't text me no more. I ain't discussing nothing. You can go and hit the door. Get up out on my ride. Forget you, let the Chevy door hit you with a good low split. You don't call me no more.
All right. Yo. Welcome, everybody. Just gonna settle in here for a second. Gonna hit you with the obligatory preface that my puppy is awake right now, so he's almost certainly about to be a distraction of sorts. But we'll slash pray that he goes to sleep, just like we slash pray that Bitcoin goes up. All right. Let me turn this off. Get started to get locked in. Let me get a sound check. You hear everything clearly? Might check 1 2. How do we get the dono thing? What are you, poor? That's crazy. Hungry motherfucker over here. Alright. Yeah, so I'm a little bit distracted because the puppy is trying to get into some stuff, trying to dissuade him. But anyways, so yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well. I'm going to focus up here for a second. We're going to talk about some Bitcoin Yap. If there's anything you guys really want to talk about along the way, you can definitely throw it in the chat and we'll cover it. I'm going to run through all my Bitcoin plans though. I've been sharing everything more openly on Twitter recently than I normally do. So we'll see what the follow-up to some of that stuff will be like. But yeah, let me just go ahead and get focused up. I would appreciate it if you kept questions relevant to the topic at hand so that you don't force me to scatterbrain and move around from topic to topic. Otherwise, I might just ignore your question. So anyways, yeah, let's get into a little bit of Bitcoin Yaparino. Actually, yeah, press like before I get started too. We got 100 of you in here and 19 likes. I need that dopamine, boys. I need that dopamine. I don't do it for the money. I do it for the dopamine. All right, let's get into some Bitcoin. So Bitcoin high time frame, pretty straightforward. There's no major high time frame changes for me. I'm keeping it in the back of my mind that per my system and per my experience, I should expect this local trend to fail and that we should see some sideways action throughout the summertime. That's like the schematic that we've all learned to follow if you've been around the block. So really, it's been a question of, are we going to break that mold or not? That's the main talking point for high time frame right now. I'm positioned based on the idea that we're going to go up higher, right? So I'm positioned, I'm taking the gamble that we keep trading higher, that Bitcoin has at least one more leg up in it. While keeping it in the back of my mind that I don't think I really want to overstay all this shit too much longer. Like, I'm hoping Bitcoin just gives us one more leg. It'll probably make an all-time high. And then we probably local top around like 112, 113K, and then see our first actual like pain. Because there's been zero pain along the way. The only pain that's been happening for this up move has been for bears, right? There's been zero pullback for bulls. I guess alts have pulled back here and there, but focused on Bitcoin, right? It's just been a free ride if you're a bull, right? You basically couldn't lose unless you were just a bitch and paper handed your shit and sold it too early, right? Overall, my main macro thoughts remain the same, that I think, you know, we're going to trade higher. It's just a question of, do we break the mold and really trade up higher soon? Let's actually move over to the other chart really quickly. Breaks it up into quarters, right? We're like midway through Q2 right now, right? So maybe a little higher Q2, a little fuck you into Q3, resume the trend second half of Q3, fully heat up the trend into Q4 to target that 150 that I think is like, yeah, I mean, I jokingly said this a few times, but I'm also a little bit serious. Like, if we don't trade to 150 this year, I think that I'll feel like I'm washed as a trader almost, or at least as an analyst. I just feel like it's so high probability given circumstances. I'm going to yap, we'll do levels next, but before I do that, I'm going to talk about the FUD. So, you know, I have like a kind of simple framework to how I treat FUD that hits our markets. You know, first you got to contextualize it, whether you're bullish or bearish right now. And right now we're locally bullish. So I'm not going to lie, when the Sailor stuff came out yesterday, I was just like, thank you, honestly. Like, that was a sick opportunity to buy the dip. There's no guarantee that it's going to play out, but I do think that that's how it's going to go, you know, forward, I think. I'm not really buying into that shit too much. I think that the way that people think about macro and political events and shit, everyone gets it twisted and thinks that they're going to be these wizard game theorists, and like game out what the consequences all of these things are going to be, when in reality it's just better to just be like a simple, you know, autist and just follow the system and whatnot. Past several, you know, I've learned that, you know, throughout years now, but I think more recently than ever with the tariffs, that was hopefully a really big learning experience for a lot of you guys, right? Remember how scary it was to be bullish here, right? And I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, but I had the plan before, and we, you know, so it's not like I wasn't ready for it. I think that's really, you know, quick lesson time, right? If you don't make your high time frame plans, you're never gonna fucking catch the high time frame trades, because the only reason why I was able to catch the, you know, good longs on this move up is because I had the plans beforehand. I feel like I probably would have been a pussy just like everybody else if it wasn't already a plan I had formed. So, that's the FUD yap. A little bit of levels. So right now, there's some lower time frame levels I'll highlight when we zoom in more, but for higher time frame, right, we just want to see bulls stay over 100K. As long as we're over 100K, we're pretty bullish. Local resistance at like 106 right now, so we're hovering right below it. I think 120K is the next kind of macro level. I do kind of get that gut feeling, though, that we front run this obvious thing and local top before it. That's why I was saying like 113, maybe it's a little higher than that, something like that. I'm not going to try to predict the levels. I'm trying to teach the idea that this is the level that everyone will focus on. So either we're going to front run it or we'll just go right through it, and then like local top's a lot higher. Those are the two ways that you want to view the psychological levels. As far as downside, or the last upside level, you know, is 150. We already talked about that. Downside levels are if we lose 100K, or, you know, accept below it rather, right? No, I don't really care if we wick below it necessarily. If we truly accept below 100K, It means we trade down to 90K, lose 90K, you know, we start to test the local lows. I don't think there's any real reason why we need to fuck with this stuff. If we're going to be bullish, even if we do summertime chop, I think that the next like big swing low will be a higher low than this one, in my opinion. That's worst case scenario for bulls. All right, so I'm going to pause here for a second, get a little sip of water, read through chat. If there's any important chat, you know, relevant to this stuff, we'll answer it. Otherwise, we'll move on. You talk about OI. There's been a lot of people just like slamming in OI on these moves up, and they've been getting absolutely clobbered. I feel like the music is a little bit loud in the background. All the breakout longers, as you guys have seen, have been getting just whipsawed around, so it's been rough for them. I don't really care that much about the fact that open interest goes up while we go up. A lot of the yappers on Twitter will say that we can't go up because open interest is going up, and that's just not true. It's not a derivative-led market anymore. That's not been the case since, you know, like 2020, 2021 times. Yeah, ever since, you know, this origin of this trend from 2023, it's been a spot-led market. So, yeah, when a bunch of people shove open interest into range highs for the breakout long, they're still going to get smacked down. But ultimately, there's going to be open interest that is able to successfully shove in and will probably get rewarded, because I do think that the spot bid will come in at some point and lift us. Let me read the rest of the questions and then we'll move forward. Percentage of the reason why the main reason why the summertime thesis has played out in the past is that it, like, the people that really matter, that can actually come in here and buy enormous amounts of Bitcoin spot, for example, they normally take their time off during the weekends or during the summer, right? It's just a classic thing, right? I mean, I do it a lot of the time where that's normally the time where I take, you know, my vacation times during the summer, not just because it's like, hey, I want to do shit when it's hot outside, right? But also just because it coincidentally kind of plays out time and time again. Yeah, hit the like, boys. 160 of you in here and 36 likes. Crazy ratios. From what spot do you draw the VWAP for the cycle? Basically, as soon as the trend started. So I think that technically the trend started just before the year opened. Yeah, it's like just before the year opened. If you were around back then, it was weird, like how we ended up starting to be bullish right before. There was signs of life right before the year opened, and then we just took off when the yearly open came. Do you care about where your hedge entry's at? A little bit, because it's like psychological. I don't have any hedges right now, though. I'm fully long right now, boys. Fully long. Fully spot long. Got spot alts. Got derivative positions on. We're long, boys. Yeah, I care about where if I'm going to take a hedge, I care about where the entry's at a little bit, because, you know, psychology plays into things. If I get a, like, comfier average entry, it makes it easier to manage. Fart paradigm, bro. Gonna talk about Altcoin. We'll talk about Altcoin later. Gold pushing again. That's interesting. Yeah. I don't really have any gold, but I've had a silver position for many years now, so I'm not gonna complain about seeing that. Sol's been weak. All right, let's take it. Let's focus on Bitcoin for now, guys. Don't worry. We'll talk about alts here. We're just not there yet. Sol's been weak. You know, I kind of, you know, I was maybe not early to calling Sol weakness per se, but I definitely adapted pretty quickly to it, guys. I still own some Sol. I own more Solana than I do, like, you know, Sui and Hype, for example, but I don't own nearly as much as I used to. It doesn't make sense, right? The days of Solana overperformance are probably gone. Say you're fully spot long, you're 100% allocated. No, like, I'm like as long as I'm gonna get, basically, is what I mean. You guys gotta understand, right? Like, I've been trading for over 10 years. There's never a case where I, like, don't have, you know, a bank account with money and have some stables, you know, and, like, have, like, dollars ready to go, right? You gotta, it's just, like, part of life. When you're in your first year of trading, maybe you're like one of these people that has like 95% of your actual money invested or whatever. You know, you move away from that the longer you trade. So I would, I have a good bit of cash still, but I always have cash. But I'm risk the fuck on these days, right? Though, right? Like I played it super safe throughout all this blood, and I'm telling, like, you know, I started to pivot, you know, perfectly at the low. Basically, I didn't. My main mistake was I was slow to close out my hedge on my main Bitcoin holdings. Rumors of Alameda being back. Who cares? High key. Always ask yourself: are the questions you guys are asking or pondering, or is it going to help you make money or not? That's that. Everything should be centered around that. What up, Reg? Max price. Max price for this cycle, you know, let's be clear, we're getting a little ridiculous here, but it's, you know, it's in the 200s probably, right? Something like that. You know, predicting price, it's dumb, but it can be fun. You know, that's purely entertainment right there. How do you balance getting hedged at a good entry, but not letting price run away if it nukes? You gotta think before, brother. You gotta have plans and think about things beforehand. So very few of my hedges are reactionary. When they're reactionary, it's to news, right? Like when the Melania coin came out, that was when I was like, oh fuck, defense time, right? But most of the time, my plans are based around like more technical and gut feeling stuff. So I make the plans about like, okay, this is probably the area where I think I need to play defense or whatever. Like, and that's how so you get good entries because you make plans beforehand. If you're purely reactionary to price and stuff, you're gonna be fucking late. We think about buying ETH here, probably not a good idea, brother. But we can look at ETH later on. All right, so I caught up with chat. We're gonna move past macro. We'll work our way down into medium time frame a little bit. What the fuck's going on over here? Okay. So here's where we're at on medium time frame. Move over to this chart. The main talking point right now was that local resistance for bulls is very obviously like 106K, right? Very thick supply up there, very sticky, right? We're having trouble getting through it. I do think that that these asks up here, the way that I'm visualizing these asks that are resting up here is that these Michael Saylor-esque motherfuckers are just going to slowly pick away at this wall until these people don't want to sell here anymore, and then that's when we're going to go through it. So I do think that we're going to see some sort of momentum impulse, right? We swept the range exactly the way we wanted to see, and we have traded up. We've rejected several times since then, so that's actually kind of good that we've kind of whipsawed the open interest around and, you know, shook people out. We love to see that, honestly. So we want to see the impulse come here really soon, start to get through 106K. Then if we get through 106K, you know, it's just, you know, who knows how far we'll trade up from there, right? We either, you know, just do like a little move up to 115, 114 or something, or maybe we even just spark like actual momentum. Who knows? Alternatively, the longer we start to go sideways, right, the more likely we start to look like this bullshit, where we look weak, forming lower highs, and, you know, eventually that means that we'll lose support, right, and trade back down. We'll stab this on there, right? This is like local support kind of zone. Is going to be like, you know, mid 90s basically. So this is my core medium time frame thoughts. That's pretty much it, guys, right? There isn't too much to cover on that. Let me check chat. I see this to be the reclaim setup you always mention in the group. Do you think that we can hit the range mid and lows and go for a decent long? I'm going to be honest, you know, I think that we probably already did the good. I just read the El Bozo fucking comment, of course. I really kind of think that, unfortunately, a lot of the really good setups already came. So I called this setup in Paragon before it came, and I think that this was the best long opportunity. Alternatively, right, what you just saw was also potentially a good long opportunity. So when you look at this range, do I think that we're going to come back towards the range lows? I would hope not, right? Like what I posted about today is I really don't even want to see us losing this area, right? What we just tested today and bounced from is really important area to be bullish about. So no, I'm going to be honest. I think that if we're going to trade up from here, that the really prime long opportunities have probably already come and gone. Doesn't mean there won't be a setup. Does aggregated order book heat map include perp and spot? You can choose what it includes. So yeah. 0% discount. Use code BOZO. How long do you test something before you add it into your trading? I'm a lot less structured than like Doc will be when he talks about that, for example, because I've been trading for a little bit longer, so I just don't fuck with doing that stuff anymore. I don't really add a lot of stuff to my trading hardly ever. I mostly just remove stuff from my trading. So I don't know. It's mostly, yeah, if I'm going to add something in, it's mostly going to be an eyeball thing, right? Human beings are incredible at pattern recognition. I played a lot of games and traded a lot over my life, so I'm good at pattern recognition. These days, I probably would just largely trust my my sense of just if it was, you know, a good pattern or not, and just send it, you know. I'll kill my hamster if we don't pump. What happened to OM? Brother, you missed out. It's been a schminute. OM died a long time ago. All right, so let me know if there's any confusion around the medium time frame. Hopefully, you know, things are looking okay. Things are definitely looking okay, right? This was the buy the dip opportunity that I called in the group. I am long from that. This was also a good opportunity, potentially too long, because this was the support that I said had to kind of hold for local bullish arguments. From here, I mean, we should trade up, guys. We've already look at these two moves that we've done recently. Like we fucked people, and then this didn't even go down that much, but that is quite a lot of open interest for price not really going down, right? So we really shit on the breakout longers, which gives me more confidence that it's coming. And like I've said on Twitter many times, right? I've cast the spells. I have the candles out, the summoning circles, you know, the goats have been sacrificed. Right? I've done all I can do to make us go higher, right? We're just patiently waiting at this point. All right. If there's any questions around Bitcoin, I'm happy to come back to it. Otherwise, I'll probably move around on the, you know, alts here pretty soon. Basically, the main thought was, you know, this was the range we built out, and I wanted to see us build a distribution above it, from which we could use a launch pad to actually break through the supply up here. We could eyeball the supply real quick as well, right? So as you can clearly see, it doesn't matter if... You should be able to double click on this platform and hide all this bullshit, make this bigger. As you can clearly see, ask liquidity has been very, very thick right along the way, right? On both of the recent failures, there was defense, and even more so recently. So we see that thick ask resistance right here, right? It's going to be difficult for us to get through this, but my feeling is that, you know, we're just going to slowly hit at these walls with a pickaxe until they give way. We might reject, you know, this might not be the attempt where we break through it. Maybe we reject again, but eventually, as long as we remain strong on the dip side of things, eventually we're going to get through this. So yeah, I feel good. I also really love, I mean, like, watching the open interest get unwound every time, right? Like, this is one of the more significant open interest unwinds, and it was off of not that substantial of a down move even. Any V-yappage? Yeah, I already did a VWAP post on Twitter today, so I don't really feel like covering this too much with any new thoughts. We can move on into alts here pretty soon. Check chat first. You use CBD divs? No, I don't really like CBD period, man. I would much prefer to use just delta histograms, like what you see here on the screen. All right, this style of volume is my preference. It's personal preference, though. You know, to each their own. A lot of puking under the VWAP earlier. Yeah, we love to see that. How do you set up those order book or order depth? Holy fuck, my brain just totally turned off trying to read that. It's just a simple indicator, bro. It's just order book depth. You can see the settings over here. Like, you can see the percentage and then what exchanges I'm looking at. That was crazy. My brain just fully shut down for a second. What do you think about Bitcoin dominance? I don't care about Bitcoin dominance, my friends. Just straight up don't care. Alt season's a meme. It's always alt season if you know how to trade good. All right, let's pop up into a couple of altarinos here. I'm going to talk about some of the alts that I'm interested in, and then we can maybe look at some of your shitters. So earlier we were asked about ETH. Let's look at ETH. I'm going to be straight up about ETH, right? I just see no value proposition for ETH yet. You know, I know it shows local strength, but like, why would I buy ETH over like just like a random altcoin? Like, I'd rather just buy Fartcoin or something than ETH. You know, my goal is to make money, not like invest in tech. I don't care about the, you know, ETH has incredible value, with like all the stablecoin stuff and all that, right? I very much buy into that, but yeah, just not an advocate for ETH. I'm gonna really kind of have a similar-ish argument with Solana, although if you're gonna pick, you know, basically what I said when I started positioning for risk on here is I said that Solana's your play if you're a pussy. You know, if you want to go risk on, but you don't want to buy shit coins, you buy Solana, because if Bitcoin goes up, Solana should go up a decent amount. It looks better than ETH too, so I'd much prefer to pick this. But this is not one that I have like a super concentrated bet on. I should actually redraw this, right? So my biggest bet is definitely Bitcoin right now. Next, I have Sui. I like the chart on Sui. I don't have anything super negative to say about this one. I own all these things that are in here, by the way. Covering my coins right now, and then we'll look at other shit. Another one, you know, I really like Hype. Hype has been not an outperformer in the sense that it's gone up more than my other plays, but it's been a steady grind, and that's what you love in your portfolio holdings. Things just go up in a steady grind that don't make you have to deal with big pullbacks. Ooh, Fartcoin looks fucking insane on the quarterly right now. Yeah, so I own Fartcoin. I think that this is kind of a no-brainer meme coin play. Basically, as you can see, I've divided my bets up into layer ones and memes. That's what my portfolio is structured around right now. So I think Fartcoin looks really good. So look at Dogerino. Yeah, I mean, so anytime I go risk on, I normally buy Doge. I put Doge and Bonk in the same bucket where they're essentially the same trade. One's just more OG and one's a Solana meme or whatever. I think, you know, I don't think that Doge is going to be the coin that goes 10,000, you know, %, right? But if Bitcoin legs up, Doge will go up a lot. So this is normally a play that has worked really well for me. It's just buying up the OG memes when I'm bullish on the Bitcoins. I don't own any Pendle spots, which I wish I did, because I called this one really early, but unfortunately I missed it on the spot trade side of things. But I am perp long on this, which I did call in the Paragon yesterday. This was definitely one of the strongest performers yesterday. As you can still see, like, relative strength on Pendle is enormous. So I really wanted to have a longer term swing play on Pendle as my RWA exposure, but I just didn't find the positioning. So instead, I'll just trade it every now and then. Instead, I don't really feel like chasing it up, especially because we're getting pretty risky with a lot of these bets. So I think Pendle's a good play, though. A few more that I'll look at, and then we'll look at your shitters. Last few times I was looking at Tau, I thought Tau didn't look too bad. I don't know. I mean, I don't own this thing, and I'm not super interested in betting on it. But if I wanted to make an AI play, I feel like this is probably your safest AI play. If you want an alternative meme exposure, I think Pepe looks pretty good as well. Yeah, Pepe definitely doesn't look bad. So I think that like Fart, Doge, Bonk, Pepe, those are like your, you know, pretty safe meme bets. For RWA, I really prefer Ondo over Pendle, like, a lot. Like, it's not just in the chart, and it's in the fundamentals, and like basically everything. Like, this thing looks really good to me. Let's just hope that this doesn't play out like OM did, because we thought the same thing about OM. The difference is that we knew OM was a scam, and, you know, people were warned. All right, let me look at chat here. I already looked at Hype. Best way to trade alts right now, scalping or swing. I mean, it's personal preference. If you're good at scalping, then maybe you scalp it, but I definitely prefer to swing trade this shit. Swing trading alts has been where a lot of my really big wins and gains have come from. XMR, good scam. I haven't looked at it in a minute, but yeah, I mean, I know that Monero has been strong. We can look at it really quickly. Really strong. Yeah, I don't own any, but it does look good for sure. It's definitely not a fucking scam. Like, this is not a scam coin, though. I mean, maybe some people use it for scams. Alright. I'll kiss my grandmother for us to pump to 160k. 100%. I kiss her for you. Can you use delta histograms like, you can theoretically do divs. Yeah, I mean, I don't really do divergence trading, but yeah, you could do it if you wanted. Real quick, press like if you're watching this. If you've enjoyed this in any way or learned anything, press like. There's been like almost 200 of you in here at one point. There's 182 and only 66 likes, so that math ain't mathin'. Do you ever code your own indicators or make new ones? Not lately. I mean, definitely used to do that stuff a lot. Okay, I'm worried about the direction that some of these coins are gonna go. Let's see though. This coin looks pretty weak relative to a lot of the other altcoins. I mean, I guess it looks like it's got a scam big going on. I can tell this is a lower liquidity kind of coin. If you're already long on something like this, you'll probably make money, but this, you know, definitely is not something I'm interested in. We can look at virtuals. I know the doc made a bag off this one recently. What was it, virtual? Yeah, I know the doc had a monster move off this thing. I don't know what the ticker I'm supposed to be looking at, but I'm pretty sure this is a decent coin. What's your edge in swing trading? Brother, I got like fucking 75 of them, so I can't really just answer that question when you ask it in a generic way. Anything from understanding just like basic risk on principles about how the, you know, ebb and flow takes place in crypto, that's a huge edge for me with swing trading. Knowing how to make my plans, knowing when to position, knowing when to play defense. I mean, I've got a lot of, you know, I could fucking yap about that, but I'm not trying to just like give everything away beyond the glaringly obvious things that everybody knows already. Hate it, but Trump looks decent. I'm sure it does. It wouldn't surprise me if that coin did well at some point. TSKin still at all-time high? No, they went down a bunch. I mean, they're still higher than they were before they started pumping, but they did crash a bit. We desperately need the turn coin request of the week, 100%. Oof. Sorry, Matthew. It's minus 15 social credits for asking about this shitter. This thing is not in the classification of a good coin. I would not say so. I'm not gonna look at the on-chainers, guys. So like Bert, that's like a Charlie coin right there for sure. I got no insights on chain. Curious about ENA? Yeah, I think ENA probably has a decent. Oof. It looks like ass though, dudes. So I think ENA has a legitimate, like, you know, fundamental argument or whatever. I've heard some nerds say some shit, but I mean the chart looks like piss. So I'll steer clear on this one. Kato, or whatever the fuck this airdrop coin. What's going on with the airdrop coin? Okay, it's kind of strong. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any value to share with this coin. I'm surprised that it's gotten bid up as much as it did, but then again, a lot of shit got lifted, so not super sure. How do you find your own edge in trading? You put in time. Time above all. You put in time, and then you make sure when you're putting in your time that you're not doing it in a completely erratic or random way. You put in your time and your effort in a somewhat strategic direction. Experiment with shit. Be open-minded. Be humble. Don't think that you know anything, because chances are you don't know shit. So the more humble and more open-minded you are, the more likely you're to find some sort of actual useful approach to trading. Who's been performing better, you or Charlie? Is this Charlie on his alt account? I definitely don't actually know the answer to that question, because it's not like we do direct comparisons. I would imagine I'm beating him the past couple of months, though. But I don't know. That's not anything against him. I've just traded it fucking insane. I didn't go into any drawdown. Everybody else went, you know, every average I guess Charlie Shore the top two. I think Charlie and I both made a similar mistake where we round tripped a lot from our top shorts, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what his curve looks like. I know he's been doing good with total shit coins, which is not really my style. Ave looks good, yeah. So Ave's been pretty fucking insane. It was a good meme. Somebody asked me about that yesterday in the Paragon group, and then they bought it right when I said it looked good, and it went up a lot. So yeah, this thing looks good. I would just basically say dips are for buying on this. Either it's going to do a pullback and you can buy it, or it's going to build a range up here and then you buy the range sweep. But it does not look bad. How do you differentiate between actual breakout and a fake out? You don't. I mean, you don't, bro. You don't until it's over. Sure, there's certain times where it's like, oh, fuck, this is the real breakout. I can feel it. But most of the time, you can't really tell. So you just don't try to trade I mean, my approach is I just don't trade breakouts. I pre-position before the breakout. So when the breakout cucks people, I just round trip, you know, and I don't care as much. It's not like I'm losing. I just wait for the next breakout attempt, you know, and it affords me patience. So you do not distinguish between the two until it's kind of already obvious most of the time. That's why breakout trading is not something I really like. What about Adam or CHC? I don't really want to look at either of those, bro. I can just kind of tell you that they're going to be bad, right? Like, there's just no... I see very near zero chance that this chart is going to look good. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for Adam to look good. This is a lost coin. I feel like you're actually trolling me with these ones. Another lost, forgotten coin. For swing trade, for alt swing trade, what patterns, condition do you look for? I'm looking, you know, I teach all this. These are classic lessons I teach in the Paragon. So I mean, that's really where you're gonna get the best answers. But it's just recognizing what Bitcoin's gonna do. You know, altcoins are essentially just leverage to Bitcoin. So you find you find your edge in Bitcoin, and then that's how I did it, right? You know, I got lucky with altcoins before, but that was pure luck. I think my edge with altcoins came from understanding Bitcoin and then just knowing when to gamble and when not to. Simple as that. Can you explain what you like about Ondo? I don't like Ondo. That's what I was saying earlier, right? Like, I don't like Ondo. If I was going to pick an RWA coin, it's Pendle 100%, right? This is just noticeably a much stronger coin than Ondo. And Ondo, like, you know, I don't know the tokenomics off the top of my head, but I'm sure if you compare Ondo to Pendle tokenomics, Ondos are going to be shit by comparison. So yeah, I'm not an Ondo fan anymore. I've taken some monster trades on Ondo on the first kind of trend, but I don't like it anymore. So for the Sunday scam pump, I mean, look, guys, the more illiquid something moves up, the more likely it is to just move right back down, you know? Not watching Peanut? Not really. Charlie's been killing it on Peanut. I haven't really traded it. Same thing with Nero. I've been trading mostly larger cap memes, guys. Technically what you're doing with Bitcoin, front running the move. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, but probably. I've heard of KTA, yeah. A bunch of people in the Paragon group actually caught that shit super early. It's up like 25 or 30x from when it first got called. So I did not buy it, but I did watch everybody celebrate and make a bag. Would Tau at weekly demand be a good buy? It could if you want to make a bet on Tau, and if you want, you know, if you like Tau and want to bet on it, then sure. I'm probably just not going to make a bet on Tau this cycle. How do you track P&L curve with spot perps and non-crypto stuff all spread around? I mean, I don't is the answer. So I like, you know, I know exactly what's going on with my perp accounts, for example, because I use, you know, TradeStream for all that. And then I have a rough estimation from what goes on with each one of my spot holdings, because, you know, I don't like transfer from account to account or anything like that. It just stays in the same place for a while. So, I mean, I don't, though. I mean, a lot of people are probably going to be shocked to hear that or think I'm retarded, but I've preached for this a long time. I know I have a really good estimation of what my holdings look like, but I don't know exactly. And it's because this shit changes so much because I own a lot of risk assets all the time, guys. It changes all the time, so I don't need to know about every little subtle variation necessarily. And two, and this is a lesson I used to teach a lot in the Paragon group, is that it's just not actually good for you psychologically to sit there and like refresh your portfolio and see the upticks and downticks, right? Ask yourself this. When you go to look at your portfolio, are you going to actually make a decision or a change? And if so, if you went and looked at your portfolio and saw you're up and thought, okay, I'm going to sell some, then that was an effective, useful reason that you went and looked at your portfolio. But be honest with yourself. The majority of the time when you guys are going and looking at your portfolio, you're just going to get some dopamine and go, oh, fuck yeah, man, I'm up, right? And that's not actually good. You're getting some kind of negative dopamine feedback from that, and you're not actually doing anything productive. So there you go. I've yapped about that in a lot more detail in the past, so we'll leave it at that for now. Would you say your old videos are no longer useful with stuff like open interest CVD? OI definitely matters. I moved away from CVD a very long time ago. I mean, so instead of CVD, I would much rather just use simple delta like this. I mean, so you're asking, does CVD and open interest work still? I mean, these are essentially these two things on my chart right here. So yeah, you just have to know how to use it. Just having this exact conversation with Doc before I turn the stream on, that people think that these tools don't work, and they don't. These tools don't work for a lot of people because they lack understanding and the framework and nuance of how to actually use them nowadays. Yeah, it requires a brain, right? To use a heat map and to use basic order flow tools, you have to like know what you're doing before you can start doing it, right? Kind of hindsight, but I remember you expecting a retracement closer to the monthly open. Wanted to understand how you ended up trading that period when it failed to break down. I don't know. I don't think about those levels that way. So monthly open was here. And I don't know what you mean exactly. Maybe you mean this previous monthly open? That's probably what you mean. Because at no point does it really make sense for me to think we're going to trade back to this. So when we were in this period, in short, guys, when we were in this period, I wasn't fully convinced we would trade higher. I actually closed out my original Bitcoin long on this day right here, I think, or this day. I can't remember, one of these 2 days. Let's please God tell me it wasn't this one right before we went up higher. But what I did instead was I just kind of got that gut feeling right before we did. So I closed out my long here, and then we did this, and I thought we were a genius. And then I had to change a thought over here, and this is where I bought my spot. So I had to think about that because I bought my spot primarily on the 7th and the 8th. So this is where I closed out the long. So I was wrong. I thought that we were going to stall out here and trade down, and I was up a lot, and I wanted to lock it in. So instead, what I did was I changed my mind up here, bought spot on alts, got super lucky that 10, 12 hours later, all the alts went up 20, 30, 40%, and, feeling pretty comfy. Same kind of thing. We're going through this area, and I'm not long, so, I bought this. Some crazy crackhead drawings, but that should have explained it, decently. I still use TradeStream mostly right now. What do you look for in delta histogram? I don't want to answer that question, bro, because it's like a long-winded answer, and I just made like a 25-minute video on exactly that. So you're looking for all the basic order flow principles that I've taught on every other tool. You're just looking to identify those. So yeah, if you wanna learn super in-depth approaches to all these things that I talk about on here, my hard shell is just going to be join Paragon and just go watch the video that I spent like a lot of time and energy putting together. I feel super confident that like for this question specifically, delta histogram, my agar video, my updated agar video that is made like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, is the perfect video to answer any of your questions. It'll literally, any question you could have relative to delta histograms, it's going to have the answer for you. Are there any education sections in tokenomics in Paragon? Charlie might have some. I'm definitely not the person to teach any tokenomics logic. I think Doc would probably say that he's probably not the person for that either. If there was somebody in Paragon, it would be Charlie, because that's something that he's taken a much more of a dive into. So I do think he has one video on it, maybe two. But I don't know his education as well as mine. I have my shit like kind of memorized. Since you're in the group, brother, honestly, just go in Charlie's question section and just ask him to give you some thoughts on that. He'll help you out. All right. Hey, mate, where would your invalidation be if you were to take a loss on your Doge, for example? So it's entirely structured around Bitcoin, pretty much, right? So if I start to get worried about Bitcoin, I'll hedge my Bitcoin and probably sell off my alts. That's basically it, right? I structure all my risk to reward mostly around Bitcoin, right? I'll pay attention to the Dogecoin charts here and there. The main thing I pay attention to with my alts is not going to be, oh, you know what? We lost this level, so now I'm going to close out my my spot. I don't believe in that kind of approach. These are highly correlated assets, so the idea is that I'm looking. All you motherfuckers should listen up right now, honestly. What you're looking for is you're looking for relative strength or weakness as your reason to hold it or to invalidate yourself. If something is consistently weak against your other coins while Bitcoin is strong, then that's something that should get cut from your port. So the main thing that would make me cut something like Doge would be if it was weak when the rest of the market was strong, or weaker relative to my other holdings. If I saw that kind of dynamic, then I would look to de-risk it. Basically, that's as simple as it goes. All my risk to reward is structured around Bitcoin and relative strength arguments. I don't really, I kind of believe in doing TA levels on Bitcoin a little bit, kind of, sort of. It's mostly a meme, but it's a fucking full-blown meme to do that on alts and say, like, if Doge goes below 2160, then I'm wrong and I have to sell my spot, right? Hopefully this is educational, guys, right? Like, you don't want to be rigid in your framework on this stuff, right? Be loose. Be loose with that shit. What up, Avitas? Long time no see, brother. Missed some of your tisms in the Paragon. Hope you're well, dude. What's your most retarded risk management move you've ever done? Bros are always trying to make me relive my pain. I can't escape my pain. It's the classic. I have two really bad ones that I always tell. Go over to a little Bitcoin action. We got giga old lines over here. What were the examples? We'll do the March one. Brace yourself for the boring story if you've already heard this. I quit my job here, roughly, somewhere in here to go full-time trading. I had my stack hedged, and my thesis was that we were going to retest this previous range, and then I was going to cut my hedge and go long. And then the Black Swan event came. This is the only time we've ever seen an event like this in crypto. All right, this is when oil went negative, and coronavirus happened and stuff, right? So because I cut my hedge and went long, I was not in any, I had no defense. So I ended up being able to close out my long after losing money on it, but then I'm just spot long and couldn't hedge. So it was basically just max pain, where I lost, a lot of my money on this, right? I had stonk equity as well. So the combination of stonks getting obliterated and crypto going down like 50-60% in a day, it was just a big clobber fest for me. And the beauty of this is I quit my job just weeks before this. So big confidence boost for me nowadays, having made it through this. I feel like if I can survive this, then I can kind of survive anything almost. I don't want to talk. Here, I'll do one more too. This is when I decided to take my trading really seriously. This day. I lost a lot of Bitcoin on this move because I was levered long on it. and I cut my losses way too late. So this was the eye-opening experience for me in late 2018, where I decided I needed to level up my approach to Bitcoin trading and stuff, and I really grinded super hard after this liquidation event. I lost over 8 Bitcoin on this move. It was like 8.2, 8.3. I don't remember exactly. It was, yeah, pretty bad. I was trading on my phone at work during, like an absolute retard. There you go. You've seen 2 of my really bad pain stories. I have some other ones, but those are definitely 2 of the worst. All right, my friends, I am going to wrap up the stream here pretty soon. We'll run through the last kind of chat questions, hang out for a second, and then we'll end it. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. All right, let's see. How do you do that but maintain risk management still? Nuance, brother, I don't really have a good answer for you on that stuff. It just takes, you build off of the boring frameworks that everybody else gives you for risk, and then eventually you figure out how to do it in a discretionary manner. Right, and I don't treat my portfolio management like trades, right, with invalidations and stuff, right? If one of my investments or kind of swing bets in my portfolio goes into drawdown, I'm just gonna, lose money, right? That's how it goes. I just do better more often than, I make fewer mistakes than I do correct decisions, is what it seems to come down to. Dumb question, but what do you mean you only sell your spot if it doesn't show relative strength? So if you can compare all your holdings against one another, right? When the market's bullish, what's going up the most? When the market's bearish, what's going down the least? And through those kind of simple metrics, you can tell what's good in your port and what's not. So if something is consistently going down a lot more than your other coins and then not bouncing as strong, it's something that needs to get removed. All right, brother, we'll keep an eye out for you, Vitas. What advice would you give to a young magus to become a profitable trader faster? I don't really know, because I want to say off the top of my head, like, skip some of the bullshit, but at the same time, a lot of the nerdier bullshit I went through gave me a good building, a base to build off of, right? A good foundation. So I don't know, guys. I'm not the type of person that is really filled with a whole lot of regret over my mistakes or anything like that. So I don't think I would do anything differently to become profitable faster. I'm very, very happy with the process of how everything played out. I had a lot of dark periods and stuff, but I'm happy overall, so I don't think I would even try to do it different in any way. I know you're trying to get some sort of insight, but I don't really have anything for you, bro. Kind of goes against how my brain is set up as well to answer that question. You're in buy the dip mode. What would be your invalidation? Well, a lot of my spot buys are, comfy, right? It's not like I'm buying right here at the local high. So again, I kind of already answered that, right? It's going to be about Bitcoin. If Bitcoin makes me concerned, then I'm going to sell shit. As long as I think Bitcoin's going to trade up, I'm going to try to hold on to things. Absolutely right. This is the most important stream in the history of streams. Love to fucking hear it, dude. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to get kind of goofy with some of my titles and thumbnails and stuff here and there to just, debate and have fun, but we'll always stay true to our core and run the streams the way we want to, which is going to be, trying to share actual useful shit, have a laugh, and keep it real. But yeah, we're going to get retarded a little bit here and there with some of these debating things. Honestly, it's kind of fun more than anything for me. It's not just that it'll get more views, it's also just fun. So yeah, if you guys like these things, honestly, share it with your friends or whatnot, right? I need word of mouth to get eyeballs on my content. There's so many big YouTube channels that just put filth out, and you guys know that I don't do that, right? I've been putting good stuff out for years. I'm trying my best to, at least. I don't understand why closing your hedge is a bad idea if your plan was to go long in support. Because, brother, to be honest, brother, you have a lot to learn with that kind of concept, right? You guys can't treat too many of you in the chat are gonna treat your hedges like trades, and that's a big mistake. A trade is a trade to make money, and a hedge is a defense against losing money. So when you hedge really well, price goes down, and then you close it out and it starts to bounce, and now you're a genius, right? What happens when it does a weak dead cat bounce and then goes down and makes a lower low, right? Now how do you play defense, right? Playing defense now becomes a lot less comfortable. So a lot of the times it's actually better to risk round tripping a lot of the unrealized P&L on your hedge to play proper defense on your port instead of treating it like a trade. Trust me, I know what I'm fucking saying. A lot of you guys are going to treat them like trades. I've treated them like trades, right? And there's been moments where it's like I treat the hedge like a trade and it works out because I'm in sync with the market and stuff. But what happens, it's about when you're wrong, right? If I hedged here and then rode it all the way down to here and then didn't fully close it out until we were up here. And to some of you guys, that might seem stupid. But what happens if we did a weak dead cat, right? And then just traded down here very quickly? What happens when I close out my hedge here and then we do this, right? It's not about closing out your hedge at the low all the time, right? It should almost never be about that, right? The purpose of the hedge is not to make money. Every now and then my hedges work out really well and I end up making extra, I just buy a little extra Bitcoin with my hedge, defense, right? But most of the time that should not be your goal. All right, let me finish up these last questions. What do we got? Any tips on portfolio scaling as a trader? Someone not in the trenches trading, how would you go about it? You got to get growth. It's as simple as that. You've got to be, much of my port growth came from taking pretty fucking risky bets early. I don't want to just do the dick sucking thing and just run through my big trades, right? But different things like betting hard on ETH, betting hard on Chainlink, betting hard on DeFi. You just got to bet hard at a key moment. That's how your growth is going to come. It's a little bit of skill and a little bit of luck and you make money, right? And then you got to learn to defend it. So, I never had any success in the trenches. All of my big gains have come from taking things that were just out of the trenches level to where they were like larger legitimate coins, taking them from that to taking them to basically being a main coin, right? That's where a lot of my successes come from. Taking DeFi and riding it up to main coins, doing that with memes, doing that with DeFi. I did that with Chainlink, right? I bought Chainlink 43 cents average. So that's the honest answer. Do you have a fixed percentage portfolio allocated to particular trade styles? It's pretty fluid, bro. I have a loose outline for it, but I'm not the type of person where it's like, oh, my portfolio is 5% bigger than it's supposed to be. I need to scale it back. I don't do shit like that. That's dumb, in my opinion. When you say your hedge, you mean you're delta neutral? I'm as close to delta neutral as possible. Yes. Generally speaking, when you hold altcoins, going delta neutral is pretty difficult, actually. We're doing the dip wheeler strat, of course. Jesus Christ, Lucifer. Honestly, I'm not gonna get this channel banned. Lucifer, the chatter, is gonna get my fucking channel banned, honestly. Thank you, Jingo. What I'm asking myself all the time are the pluses and minuses when you're right, your hedge, you maximize and you lose your spot. I'm not sure what you're trying to ask, bro, but maybe my brain's just not working. The way that I depicted all that stuff is just what works for me. I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all for all of you. Every time you close a hedge, aren't you risking that it's the Pico top for the move? Yes, of course. But everything you're ever doing, I had to think for a second, brother. Everything you're ever doing with trading is a risk or a gamble of some sort, so of course. You either close that support or reclaim of some level and bet that it's not going to keep going down. Guys, this is why I just don't teach hedge stuff, to be honest, because it's just not going to go well for most of you. It's just not, like, the way that you're asking questions, brother, tells me that you can't do it. So just don't try yet. I would wait till you have more experience. Because never are any of my plans going to be as simple as we lost a level. Like, in some ways, I share all of my hedge plans live in the Paragon, right? So if you're in the Paragon, you kind of hear what this shit sounds like. Sometimes part of the hedge plan will be, oh, I don't want to see us lose this level. But it's never about that purely. It's always about, like, more nuanced feelings about what's happening with the flow and who's in control and stuff. Defending is where most people fail. I understand that. Guys, most of you guys should just fucking sell your coins, right? So instead of trying to do what I'm talking about right now, a lot of you guys are going to be better off just saying, okay, you know what? I bought Pepe and it went up a lot. I'm just going to sell it. I don't know what ICM is. So I can't speculate, brother. Rename it to the most important hedge stream. Sorry, I'm redacted. No, you're good, brother. Look, I've done education on this shit for years, so having that type of interaction is not something I'm like not uncommon with, or unfamiliar with, excuse me. And that's why I said it so bluntly. It's because I know that this stuff is really, really hard to do. And I actually just had this conversation with one of my students. It's much more like an art form than it is any sort of science to doing what I was talking about. And that's why I really advocate for people not. I really didn't intend to even talk about that. One of you motherfuckers asked the question. I would not advocate for using derivatives to hedge for some of you guys, right? You need to know where you're at. Are you experienced or not? The reality is most of you guys should not do that stuff. Just fucking sell your coins when they go up and pay your taxes and then make a new play when another opportunity comes your way. It's that simple, right? Don't overcomplicate the shit for most of you. If you're confident and you think you can pull it off, then hedging is actually better. It's more capital efficient. It's cheaper in a lot of ways, but it's harder. So, with that being said, Jesus Christ. That's surely a sign my voice just fully cut out there. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream there. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Press that like button if you didn't already. If you're trying to up your game and learn some shit, come join the Paragon group. I would not shill that if I wasn't super confident that you're going to fucking learn a thing or two, right? At the very least, you're going to learn stuff really quickly with us. So anyways, good luck out there. Cheers. Let me get a /pray in the chat for price to go up.